Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check brought to you by BB. There is no second best. I guess I have to change the intro now because it's not quite daily, but it is still the best live stream to talk about markets. Thank you all for joining us as always. I'm Tommy. You guys also know me as Snorlax. I'm joined by Louis, Tucker, and of course, Max. We hope that you've all had a great week here in markets. Obviously, you know, it's just another one of those weeks where we've been bombarded by headlines. We've got Trump talking at the White House here in about 15 minutes, so we're probably about to get another one. We'll see what it brings for markets, though. Rest assured, guys, we're going to have a great show for you all today. We're going to send you off into your weekend, hopefully with a little bit of alpha. So with that said, if you guys could smash the like button for us, we would be eternally grateful, as always, right? And you help us continue to keep the lights on here at BB, continue to bring you guys market check content. And lately, if you haven't noticed, I'm sure a lot of you guys have, we've been pumping out some great video content as well, in addition to market check through our YouTube. So check out all of those videos on the channel. Leave a like button, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. There will certainly be more. But let's get into the markets, the charts, the week that was. We have, it's like I said, it's like we're bombarded by headlines in this market. I don't know if that's going to be the case for the entire administration. I kind of hope that we get tired of the headlines impacting markets at some point and they just stop, but who knows? Like I said, we're going to get another one here in about 15 minutes. It's probably going to move the markets in some degree. But yeah, Bitcoin is still kind of just chopping around the mid 110. Or I mean, like, what would you call that? I guess like 105s, 106s. We've been chopping within a very tight range, near all-time highs for, almost 2 months at this point, which is kind of surreal for me to say out loud, but it is indicative of the current way that Bitcoin's trading. Ultimately, I feel like the last few days have been definitely Bitcoin dominated. You've seen ETH strength, but altcoins in general are still taking a backseat to Bitcoin, realistically, until we get into price discovery. And then I think, they would hopefully start to perk up. Obviously, we've talked before about Coinbase divergence that we're seeing versus Bitcoin and ETH, where Coinbase is basically chatting towards all-time highs, or I think it might have already entered price discovery, actually. And we haven't quite seen the same follow through for crypto. Is it just lagging? Did we see that euphoria kind of come off through crypto stocks potentially? I see Circle pulling back about 11% today. We're going to discuss the implications of those things on today's show. But equities, kind of just the exact same thing that they've been doing. The exact same thing I said on Wednesday. They're just kind of floating up about 1% to 0.5% every single day. The VIX getting crushed. So until something materially changes, I would say that to me would be the VIX getting back above that 22 level. It's difficult to be overly bearish on anything equity related. Although I will say we did kind of just have a bit of a shitco mania season in equity markets. So maybe that's something to pay attention to. Equities are strong. You have to think that inevitably it will bleed over into crypto. But I think one of the things that we said on Wednesday as well, talking about the dollar specifically, the dollar is getting ready to break down from the same level that it broke down from in 2020, ended up being actually very significant for risk asset pricing. I doubt this time will be any different, but what we did see was when the dollar broke down, it took about 8 to 9 months before that altcoin mania really took effect. So maybe we have a bit of a lag. I think you have a lot of things lining up bullishly for markets and for crypto. I think it's a matter of we will see kind of how everything is going to come together over the next few weeks. But how are we doing, guys? What are our thoughts on the market here as we head into the weekend?
I'm hoping to see a move here. I really don't want to get left like dangling going into the weekend here, kind of what Bitcoin is doing right now. Low time frame Bitcoin's been squeezing to the upside, but it's kind of at a spot where it's either gonna pop or it's either gonna drop, right? One or the other. If it drops, I mean, we're due for a local pullback, right? Tons of liquidity below us. Would be looking for a higher low there. and then another test at all-time highs from there. Or maybe we just go, right? Maybe we just go from here. Everyone's waiting for that pullback. No one kind of trusts this rally off the lows. Could be the perfect setup for just a meat stick breakout for Bitcoin, right? And what tells me that, or has me confident that we'll see that, is what we're seeing in equity markets, right? Nasdaq breaking all-time highs a couple days ago, S&P breaking all-time highs today, the Russell, low cap stocks looking great. I mean, crypto's up next, right? It's like we're the next up at bat. We should start to move, right? If not, I don't know. I really don't. But I really would like to see a move today, constructive move at a Bitcoin and ETH, rather than waiting, dangling here going into the weekend. I'd rather see that move happen today. But I mean, regardless, as I've been talking about on the last couple of shows, is I really just truly think we're consolidating at the highs here before another leg, right? High time frame consolidation, perfect stacked highs above us. We got like billions and billions of dollars worth of liquidity sitting up at anywhere from 110 to 111K. That's going to be the fuel. That's going to be the fuel for us. It just more or less we kind of got to get through these local moves and start to follow the rest of the markets. So I'm optimistic, but at the same time I'm like kind of like just waiting to see if that shoe drops or not. But all in all, I think this results higher, over the next couple of weeks.
Sure hope so.
What?
Go ahead, Max. Go ahead.
Well, I'm at a loss for words right now. I can't seem to find the words. I can't. Listen, I just checked YouTube.
Oh no.
There's 110 people watching right now.
Oh, it's a Friday.
That is the small, regardless of the day. That is the smallest audience we've had in a year and a half, without question. That must be a bottom. Everyone's done with it. I mean, who am I to? I'm hopping off early to go golfing. I can't stand this market anymore. I mean, I don't blame anybody. Why would they want to watch us talk about this bullshit, every day? It's crazy. Louis, let me ask you, I want to back you into a corner here a little bit. I want to press Louis meat stick a little bit. I want to put you in the hot seat, Louis. I hope you're okay with that. But listen, what if I were to tell you that actually you're wrong and that stocks are going to go to new highs? They're already at new highs. Small cap companies are going to go to new highs, but crypto is not. And it doesn't matter that DXY is puking, and it doesn't matter that crypto stocks look good, and it doesn't matter that Bitcoin's just chilling out at value area high, 8-month value, and it doesn't matter that global liquidity is rising. And what if I were to tell you that actually, Louis, you're wrong, and we're not going to get another alt season ever again, and the Bitcoin QQQ and Bitcoin SPX pair are going to bleed in perpetuity for a long time, and your asset class is not going to offer you the returns that you think? Louis, what would you say back to me if I were to tell you that?
What would I say to that?
What would you say? Hypothetically, of course. Not that I did say that, but what would you say if I did say that?
I mean, I've kind of answered that question a couple times, and what I would say is, do human emotions still exist? And if obviously the answer is yes, then we will have an altcoin season, right, of some sort. Now, what does that pertain, right? Does that mean every single coin is going to go up 10, 15, 20x? No, absolutely not. We've seen tons of dilution in this market, but the right tokens, right, the ones that have lasted the test of time, somewhat have utility, are making partnerships in the real world, doing all that stuff, they will benefit. But as long as human emotions, fear and greed, as long as greed exists, and Bitcoin continues to, head to the upside, we're going to get an alt season. This money flow these profits will rotate, down the risk curve, into these lower cap cryptos, right?
But
And
what if
that's
I were
just
to? But what if I were to tell you, as a counter argument, hey Louis, listen, man, this cycle's been so grueling and so brutal that too many market participants have gotten carted out already and they're not coming back. And you couple that with the egregious degree of value destruction that we've seen this cycle through predatory protocols like pump.fun, where 99% of people lose all their money, they're carted out. The extraction that we've seen from things like Melania coin, arguably like Trump coin, all these other meme coins, right? The amount of value destruction and like the liquidity suck that we've seen from the predatory behavior this cycle is going to cause there to never be a pump again. Does that matter?
those investors aren't going to move the market. The people that move the market are bigger money, right? Big money is going to move the markets. Retail investors can be early, but it's been grueling for retail investors in this market over the last year and a half, right? So especially if you strictly, had been trying to buy, lower cap cryptos, rather than just buying Bitcoin or, some higher cap stuff. And even the high cap stuff hasn't done well. But no, big money moves the markets. They will come in and start buying up, these assets on the low. And those retail investors will be forced to return, right? They might have told themselves they're not going to return, but when they, are constantly hearing about crypto, Bitcoin trading at 120, 130K, ETH approaching 4K, millionaires being minted off meme coins or whatever, they'll come back, right? But they're just going to have to come back higher, right? And maybe the retail mania will push the last half of this market, but it's going to be big money that starts it, right? Gets these tokens off the floor, starts to stir up that excitement, and then retail will return, carry the torch higher, and then get distributed on.
Okay, that's fair. I like your answer. I mean, the thing is, retail is important, but retail is not nearly as important as the big money, right? I mean, retail gets carted out one way or another. They always do, whether it's at the very beginning of the cycle, in the middle of the cycle, the end of the cycle, when they find out what perpetual futures trading is. It doesn't really matter the way in which retail gets carted out, because one thing you can count on is them always getting carted out. So you are right in suggesting that they're not the people that are actually going to cause the explosive bull run. It's going to be huge entities. Like if we think about what caused it last cycle, FTX, right? Alameda, 3AC, what was the Luna guy's name? Novogratz, right? Like these huge, Chamath, whatever his name is, I don't even know how you say his name. Chamath, whatever. It's these kind of guys that, these guys leading these multi-billion-dollar, deca-billion-dollar entities that move the market. And of course, retail plays a role, but it doesn't really matter because what we're looking for is that on-chain wealth effect to take form. And really that starts when Bitcoin finally gets above like 113, 115, right?
That's true too, Max. Like the on-chain wealth effects, like who is left, right? Whoever's left here, and still sitting right in their positions, and the markets do carry higher. We're gonna have play money to start going around and buying up different stuff, moving down the risk curve again in crypto. Like I haven't been in the trenches in probably like a couple months, but I guarantee you, a month or two from now, if we're way higher and I'm sitting on nice gains, I'm going back, right? I'm going back and I'm playing around and trying to extract as much value from the market. So that'll also take effect as well, right? And as that's happening, retail will return, FOMO will ensue. You kind of get that euphoric blow off top. I mean, we've seen historically these specifically altcoins, they run for, months, right? But it doesn't last super long. Like Bitcoin, run usually lasts around 2 years, like a year and a half, 2 years. But the altcoin market, like it goes on a massive run, but it's only for like a 3 to 6 month span. So you see a ton of gains in a short period of time. And I think we're going to see the same, right? I still think we're going to see the same, but again, it's going to be the right stuff, high caps, ETH should lead. then it should be higher cap cryptos, then it should be, you know, your mid to low caps, and then the meme coins, you know, all should rally in that order somewhat, right? And then niches pop off here and there. And that's a healthy bull market. And that's what I want to see coming out of here.
You know what I find kind of funny, just because you said something, you said the trenches. I remember like a year ago, people would wear the trench badge of honor, and they're like, "Ooh, like I'm in the trenches, like cooking, like finding gems every day. I'm in the trenches," and then like it turned into an absolute
now they have
slaughtering.
PTSD.
Now if somebody's like, "I'm in the trenches," I'm like, you're poor, like you just got smoked, like it's not a cool thing anymore, you know. And I think that kind of needed to happen, right? Because everybody was like an on-chain trench warrior. And I think this is what I made a video about this a long time ago. I might even at the right time clip it and just tweet it out as a little reminder. But I said to everybody a long time ago, because obviously I'm super into like Pepe, Brett, Andy, Wolf. Like that's kind of my narrative that I'm leaning into this cycle. Everybody's got their own, whatever. That one works for me. What I saw happen pretty quickly after Andy and Wolf became solidified, and like really kind of rose through the ranks and like good daily volume. Both of them went over hundreds of million multiple times, right? What we started to see was all these like attempted copycats, right? So there was, instead of, you know, Pepe's OX69, Andy's OX67 or 68, Wolf's OX67, whatever. Then suddenly there's a new like Matt Fury derivative, OX62, you know, like, ooh, it's like Pepe's first girlfriend, or, you know, some bullshit like that, right? The grift attempts escalated to a point of we needed an absolute flushing. And the market had a cancer on it. It had a tumor. It had a cancerous tumor. And what we needed to have happen was to get rid of that cancer, we had to kill all of the healthy cells short term as well, get rid of the cancer, and then let the healthy cells recover. The healthy cells are the legitimate projects that are still churning along today. So, you know, I think it was just like the punishment that we've seen this cycle has been really a result of, one, something that had to happen, and two, you know, like a healthier thing for the market long term, right? Because we had to get rid of all of the grift. Like some of these guys now, like they launched their new generational shitcoin of the week with just, you know, they're going to bundle it and rug it. They can't even get the thing to pump anymore, man. Like there's not even a PvP environment anymore. Like there's no runners anymore, you know? All we have left are like the small cap projects that are actually going to end up performing well. Like, you know, the stuff that's still hanging out above 20 million through over a year's worth of some of the most grueling price action, those projects are going to end up doing just fine, right? Those are the survivors, right? Those are the survivors. But yeah, we needed it to happen, man. Like it was just all the grift had to get taken out, and that's what happened. And, you know, I think if your project is still actually around, then you're going to do just fine. But
yep. And that was something I was saying back then too. Sorry to cut you off, Tuck. You can go next, of course. But last point is like I was saying that back then, right? I was like, you know, like you quote unquote utility should be running, right? Yeah, we should have seen you know, utility or the high
by the seashore.
We should have seen that stuff running, right? And instead, people were just going right to the end, right? It's like it's supposed to be Bitcoin, then ETH, then high to mid caps, and then money trickles down. Instead, everyone just jumped right to the end and saying utility's a meme, you know, or utility's non-existent, like VC scams, and we're just going to make all this money in meme coins. And yeah, there was a little frenzy, but now everyone's wrecked, right? Everyone's wrecked. We didn't have that natural market kind of timeline. And I think we're going to get that this time around, especially after the move we've seen off the lows from ETH, right? So.
Yeah, we need to see ETH stay strong here. And I think it actually looks kind of good. Like I'm just going to, I know Tommy put out a video yesterday, fudding Sol, and that's not what I'm going to do here, but like
Great
It's
video,
a-
by the way.
It was a
Thank
great video. Yeah, it was.
I gotta go watch it later.
Did you like
But,
my
like-
reply to your tweet, Tommy, with like the Pepe with like the nuke in
I
his
did,
eye?
yeah.
So Ethan, he's just smiling, smiling at the destruction.
but like just looking at them next to each other, like I love this reclaim that ETH is putting in right here. Like this is awesome. Like we look pretty solid on ETH. Like I think maybe like above 150s for Sol, you start to look pretty good again. But I'm kind of shocked that we've been able to just hang out up here instead of, you know, doing that. So that's a good look. That's a good look for ETH.
Bitcoin's back to green on the day. That's good.
Bitcoin's back to green on the day. Yeah, I mean,
For
I think
now,
Sol's
it's probably
gonna
gonna
do
drop
well.
to like 50 or 45K.
Can you imagine?
I actually can't imagine because you'd probably never see me again if that happened.
I know.
So,
I know.
Well, you going golfing might mean the Bitcoin breaks out next. If you remember correctly, your golf arc last time around marked
Yeah.
the bottom.
I think when I started offering people buy 9, get the 10th free golf lessons, guaranteed to shave 5 strokes off your game within 5 lessons, otherwise your money back, I think that was the local bottom. By the way, that was a good deal. That was a good deal. Not as many people as I thought jumped on that, but I know Tucker wanted a package for sure.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need one.
Tucker plays kind of a power fade. Like Tucker's a brute force kind of guy, but I'm trying to get his hands a little more inside, a little flatter, you know, inside to out, work on that little baby draw off the tee.
Oh,
But yeah, if Bitcoin breaks down here, Tucker and I are definitely going to spend some time working on that.
yeah.
For sure. Get his game where it needs to be. But I'd be happy to offer you guys, you know, some coupons, buy 9, get the 10th free for Because Golf when that venture launches. And that will only launch if Bitcoin suddenly gives out here and we're poverty stricken. But yeah, should be good for now. No golf lessons yet.
No golf lessons.
No,
yet.
but in the comments, I'm joking. Bitcoin is not going to 40 or 50K. I'm just being a Friday smartass. That's it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's not going there. We're good. Bitcoin's going to 150K. Don't worry about it. Okay. I'm just talking shit because I'm getting bored. That's it. I mean, look at this. Tucker, do me a solid, brother. Just pull up QQQ on the weekly time frame for me. Okay. Because this
looks insane. Yeah.
On the weekly. I need the weekly. Okay. So you look at this chart and there's nothing that I can say that is bearish. Here's the thing. And I don't say this lightly. If QQQ and SPX, which by the way looks the same as this chart, if QQQ closes the week up here, we have what, 4 hours, 5 hours until this weekly candle closes? Something like that. If we close like this and crypto doesn't start ripping in the next 10 to 14 days, something is horribly wrong with our asset class. There is literally not a good excuse in the world where stocks can put in a V recovery like this, confirm the weekly candle close breakouts, like engulfing weekly above the previous all-time high, and crypto bleeds and drops. I refuse to accept that that's even a realistic possibility. If we don't start ripping, we're completely fried. Like everything is lined up. DXY is puking. Small cap shitcos are starting to perk up. QQQ, SPX meat sticking above the previous all-time high. Bitcoin's just chop solidating at 7-month value area high. Like literally, you couldn't write a more perfect script for like the day before the rip, right? That would be the title of the movie. The day before the rip. You could not frame it any better, right? You could not. So if Bitcoin cannot start breaking out here soon, then something has just gone horribly, horribly haywire. I truly believe that. Like, look at this chart. Look at DXY. Look at what the Russell's trying to do. Look at what CoinStock just did. Look at what Hood is doing. Look at everything. Yeah. We have literally, like, I'll give it 10 to 14 days at most. Otherwise, you're going to get coupons for golf lessons because this is messed up. We have every reason in the world to rip right now. The stage is set for
I feel like this summer is almost indicative of the way that this cycle has really kind of played out, which is that Bitcoin has that institutional bid. It's got this passive undercurrent pushing it higher in the same way that equity markets have. And then at the same time, altcoins have been very retail driven. And obviously we already kind of talked about retail doesn't matter as far as moving markets. When we talk about the 2021 cycle, that alt season was driven primarily by VCs and, obviously crime as well from people who came in outside the space. And I feel like I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning of the show about the dollar. These things can take time. I think we're seeing a lot of different winds shift in favor of crypto as an asset class. They just haven't all played out yet. Obviously, they haven't played out in the form of price appreciation in a long time, right? But I think when we talk about market cycles, the euphoric stage for crypto, we haven't seen it pan out into that specifically. But I think we're getting there eventually. It's just, okay, well, the summer, Bitcoin strong, it's got the flows, altcoins weak, every squeeze just gets sold into because there's no buyers. And that's just kind of how it is during this illiquid period. But at the same time, you have equities going to all-time highs. You have Bitcoin basically in price discovery, Coinbase ripping in price discovery. You've got huge mania for crypto stocks, which will, I think intangibly and tangibly kick back into ETH's valuation at some point. We don't know when that's going to be, but it looks like it will happen at some point. I think it's just kind of a patience game at this point. And yeah, retail was max extracted on things like Solana, I think largely because retail didn't have the weight to be able to move the market in the same way they did in 2021. And I feel like, we say retail doesn't matter, and then we can't expect the 2021 alt season to occur until we get more participants come back, which is also why I want to highlight Jump Crypto coming back into the market, which will be a positive tailwind for some of these VC alts. I think it was Max that mentioned, scooping some of these coins at deeply discounted prices. Maybe it was Louis, I can't remember, but I'm sure that's probably what Jump is actively doing right now, especially considering a lot of these VC tokens are fully unlocked at this point. So, probably easier to control the market however they would like to. I think we're seeing the undercurrents is basically what I'm trying to say. It's just not always going to happen right away. But I think when we look back on this time next year, probably in the summer, it will have played out into price appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, is this real? Are they
no, bro.
No, right?
No.
I could
Could you
see
imagine?
0.067 or something like that. Like a retest of that kind of like shoulder or like supply before the breakdown on that trend line. Maybe.
Yeah.
But that's also like a big maybe to me personally. Like I would never play that bounce, Like I would if it bounced, I would then fade that bounce, but I wouldn't like try to spec along up to that shoulder or something like that. Nah, man. Soul ETH. Tucker, can you do me a favor? Go to Tommy's tweet of the video from yesterday, and I want you to screenshot my tweet and then just paste it on the chart. Okay. I need you to include what I said, so like not just the picture, but like the tweet. All right. And then just staple it onto the chart, because this is how I personally view this chart.
What's Trump saying right now? Anything?
Is he talking right now?
He said
Supposed to
he's
be.
supposed to yap at like 11:30, I think it was Eastern. So he should be yapping right now.
Do we know about what?
Oh, come on. Hang on. I got you.
He should be yapping right now.
I'm sure he's yapping right now.
Do we have any idea what he's going to yap about?
The 12-day wall.
China.
They're probably going to talk about the deal with China, if I had to guess.
That's Max?
Yes, exactly. Soul ETH. That's right. That's going to be me smiling. That's going to be Tommy too.
Yes.
just grinning, watching the nuke. That's like one of my favorite memes. He looks so happy. He's like, job well done. Destruction.
I mean, the Sol ETH markdown is coming. I've been saying it for a while. I'm usually early to these things by a few weeks, but
I may have been early, but I'm not wrong.
It's coming down. That's a broken trend, loss of momentum. I mean, you look at the RSI on a higher time frame. It's the first time we've shown any weakness in momentum since the trend started. So there's a lot of skepticism that this pair will actually break down. I don't really understand why that would be the case, though, because you look at Sol on chain right now, and it is barren. Like there is absolutely nothing on Sol outside of useless coin.
Outside of fart coin, maybe.
I feel like there's I mean fart coin too, but there's like this euthanasia coaster almost that's occurred with Solana memes where the runner for any given period is getting progressively smaller as that hot ball of money has shrank on chain. And to me, this is just the on chain dominance indicator. Like not only are we about to see Sol underperform ETH, but we're about to see on chain activity shift over to Ethereum as well.
Tommy, can I ask you a personal question? Why would you, looking at this chart, Tucker, do me a favor, take a price drawdown from current to that green box. I want to know what percentage that is exactly. Okay. Why would you not take a long ETH short Sol $1 million notional pair trade and give yourself a free 350K right here?
I mean, you could. It's going to have probably a lot more volatility in the pair. These are altcoins after all, and if Sol gives you, if the market gives you like a squeeze here, I think Sol would probably outperform ETH initially just because it's been beaten down more. So you have like I think tricky little nuances like that, but generally I tend to agree. Like you're looking at a pair trade that is going to come down a lot. It's just a matter of when, not if.
I mean, here's the thing too, is what you just talked about, which is they're altcoins. There's going to be some scams. It might be beneficial to that pair trade idea to literally wait for that scam. Like wait for Sol to just put in a 10% ripper against ETH for no reason. And then just be like, all right, pair trade initiated, you know, like that's the entry.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that right there almost would be like, it feels like kind of free money, low key, or like really high probability of success at minimum. But
yeah, it would be like that. It would be like this.
I think the only like hazard to the trade is obviously you've got the Sol ETF, which I don't think is going to matter. I quite frankly think it's already been priced into the chart, but it will cause a headline spike. And if you are in a pair trade, if you've traded pairs like that, you're typically you know, on a pretty decent bit of leverage. It can blow up your pair trade. A headline like that.
That's probably your entry, is that headline, if you think about it.
I mean, if you get it, yeah. I have no idea when it's coming. That's the thing.
Yeah. But we also do have the ETH staking headline, which I think works obviously in favor of this chart breaking down. Because I would argue that
we get ETH staking before Sol ETF.
Yes.
Yeah, I would argue that the ETH staking announcement is way more substantial than just a spot Sol ETF without staking. Personally,
yeah, I agree.
Well, I think they're upgrading the Sol ETFs to staking. So
like right off the bat.
Yeah, so that makes me think that
if we get a Sol staking ETF before ETH, I'm gonna just my monitor may be in danger. I'll be honest. That's not gonna be okay. We lost him. It's over.
No.
Someone says, what do you think about fractal Bitcoin fractal end 2023 to February 24 on ETH right now?
Wait, on
so ETH? We need to, okay, let's figure out what he's trying to say here. Okay, so we need ETH next to Bitcoin or Bitcoin next to ETH, whatever.
Right there.
So Bitcoin end of 2023 to where ETH is at right now.
I'm sure he's talking
That's
about
got to be that. Yeah, he's got to be talking about that.
So basically,
maybe line the time frames up though.
Yeah, hold on. All right.
It's my bias.
Fits
I'll
my
take it.
bias.
It's my bias. I'll take it.
I mean, so here are the lines I would draw. Because I agree it looks similar, right? But it's not perfect. It never is. But, you know, we did get a double bottom on Bitcoin. We got a lower
Hang on.
low
One thing I will note about Bitcoin, though, Tucker, go back to your Bitcoin chart and switch it to Binance Perps, because Binance Perps actually did get below that wick, if you remember.
Futures.
You could just type in, go back to your normal chart, or all, and then just do Bitcoin USDT
Oh,
dot
.p.
P.
Yeah.
And then to go to the Bybit chart.
Oh, buy bits?
Bybit. Yeah,
Buy
Bybit.
bit? Wait, what is this? Oh, that didn't work.
Just delete that. Just delete that.
Okay. USDT.P Bybit perp swap.
That one. What?
Mean.
Bro, did they change the chart? Wait, go to the lower
No,
time.
that's right. Right? That was a lower low.
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, it was zoomed out. I couldn't see it. So that one actually did deviate it, but
yeah, so we did get a lower low there.
some exchanges did, some didn't. But and I remember we had so many debates on this show about whether that wick would get filled because it was inconsistent across spot markets and futures.
I remember
Obviously, in hindsight, it did not. But I remember just like every day after that wick happened, we were like just debating it every single day.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
basically our version of Sol ETH right now. We're just talking about it every day.
the golden era of Matic shorts.
Dude, you were bullying Matic for a minute there. I remember that. I could see you in the open interest, man. Like you would. That was back in DYDX days, Tommy.
That was.
I remember we would just see like 700K open interest suddenly come in, and then you'd text me and be like, "Just shorted Matic." Be like, I know, Tommy. I could see.
So this is the contention right here that we're somewhere in there, which I could see.
Gotta be. Or ETH is fucked.
Well, I think like this candle. Wait, give me the arrow. Would be more like this candle, right? Which is fine, right? Like you're still like within the breakdown, the like big breakdown candle, basically, right? So
meat stick loading, you mean?
so meat stick loading is really what this fractal would say.
I feel like the bull scenario for ETH out of here looks a lot like silver, actually. Silver coming out of 2008. I think it was into 2011, 2012, but you saw a very similar market structure from silver. Yeah, that right there. Before you had a blow off top. So, I think
where exactly
a little bit further. So like we
08?
just came out of that. I think
After 08?
yeah, that would have to be your bull scenario more or less for ETH.
Oh, you're saying, okay, let me drop this down. Get rid of this. Like what? Just this grind up from here?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Bitcoin's moving, guys.
Don't worry, it'll sell off, Louis.
Like,
I mean, I think that's what you want to see out of ETH at this point. Is kind of this slow grind back up towards the highs, rather than obviously you'd rather have that than a complacency shoulder.
No context, just Jeet.
Bitcoin, I will say, Bitcoin lower time frame this morning, I felt like was communicating a little bit. When you see them kind of just do that slow bleed and absorption into the lows on a very, very low time frame, it typically is a sign of absorption. They're just building short liquidity and they're about to squeeze it to another high.
Dude, yeah, this low key actually looks. I mean, the structure ETH is putting in does not look like this, right? But I
like
see what you're talking about.
The breakdown looks similar for sure.
Yeah, the breakdown looks similar. Obviously ETH put in a huge meat stick rather than this grind, but Yeah, I see what you're talking about here, Tommy. I mean, the only issue here is that with silver, even more so than equities, that took a year. So
Yeah.
that's
I mean, it's totally
Silver's slow.
different market. Yeah, different market.
But when we talk about, Bitcoin, gold, ETH, silver, to me, the comparison makes sense for that reason. So I'm just kind of like loosely tracking it. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like my base case at the moment, but it is an outcome that I am keeping an eye on.
Yeah. Bitcoin, gold, ETH, silver. Have we looked at Bitcoin and gold recently at all?
I think gold was having a bad day today.
That's good, I think, for Bitcoin.
I don't think you really know.
The fractal I pulled on Bitcoin and gold is really interesting as well.
You got a fractal, Louis?
Yeah.
Let's
I mean,
see a
something
fractal.
that we've noted before on this show is like typically gold will rip and then it will cool off, and during that cool off period is when Bitcoin ceases the opportunity.
Yeah.
So gold definitely looks like it's showing some signs of exhaustion, especially it would be very atypical of gold to continue to rip with SPX and QQQ now in price discovery. I feel like that alone is a pretty good catalyst on like a rotation out of your safety back into risk, right?
Yeah, I think gold looks terrible. I'm not gonna lie.
I think that's good.
Just rejected at the highs for the third time, breaking lower time frame uptrend on this last push. I mean, it really should be coming down into like 3,000 pretty soon.
I'll bet there's a big old bear div here if I had to guess. Just a guess. Not really on this. What am I on? The 5-day. Let's get a little. Give me a bear div.
There was one on the weekly there, Tucker, I think, because you take it from the close, not the wick.
Yeah, if you take it from the close, for sure.
Which is, by the way, how RSI calculates from the close. So that is technically a div. So.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, big old div.
That looks cooked.
I think we see 3K in July, personally.
For ETH?
I mean, if
I mean, maybe it's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw gold like when all that tariff scare stuff was going on. Gold was ripping, right? Equities pulling back, crypto pulling back. Gold was ripping hard. If we see gold start to come back, I think it makes sense for risk assets to start to catch a bid again.
What's Fartcoin doing today?
What are our risk on indicators doing today?
Fartcoin and hype. Let's actually put them both up.
It's just sitting and waiting. I think everything's just waiting for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin does it, then we're going to mark up here on everything.
Has Fartcoin's mind share topped? What do you guys think about that statement? I just thought about it just now. I mean, it had so much attention on it. I'm kind of surprised it didn't go higher.
I don't think it's one of those things that matters if it tops, because it's just going to stay. Here's the thing. The higher it goes, the more attention it's going to get. That's super obvious, right? But there's nothing more that the media wants than to continually point to what a scam crypto is. Case in point, something called Fartcoin is at $7, right? So I think it's one of those things where it topped here locally more as a result of the broader market. And I think we're going to know very soon if its mind share truly has topped when Bitcoin moves up from here. I don't think it's possible to know beforehand. But here's what I will say. It feels like one of those sleepers. Like, I remember last cycle, and I was one of them, by the way. Like when Doge and SHIB would rip, I'm just like, these are scams, Now I'm like Mr. Meme Coin. I think that Fartcoin has a way of driving that negative emotion in people. Like nothing else, like no other meme coin in crypto, personally.
I will agree with that.
So I'm like, I think for that reason alone, it's going to get bid. You know, I think it will do just fine, honestly. How does the Sol Fartcoin pair look, or Fartcoin Sol? I think that's the, because we're bearish on Sol ETH, but how does Fartcoin Sol look? I have no idea what this chart looks like. I'll be honest. I don't know.
Well, it looks like ETH is what I would say. So whatever we think Fartcoin's about to do, we're probably about to see the same from ETH. Relative, like, you guys see what I'm talking about, right? That move Fartcoin's put on since the bottom looks exactly like the one ETH has done.
I see it. Yeah.
Guess I'm gonna.
Well, let me go back. Like, do you guys think this is a shoulder on Fartcoin?
I'm really not sure.
It's super awkward. Here's the thing. If I thought Bitcoin was going to roll over here, then absolutely. I don't think Bitcoin's going to roll over here, so I don't think it is. I think the context of the broader market needs to align with a complacency shoulder on beta, and I don't think that it does here. But if Bitcoin does puke, then yeah, this is going to be nasty. But I don't think Bitcoin should puke here, which we talked about for a long portion of the show. DXY looks terrible. QQQ meat sticking. SPX meat sticking. Crypto stocks meat sticking. The title of the movie is The Day Before the Rip. You know, that's the title of the movie. If we don't get the rip, then I'm convinced we are in a completely fraudulent market.
I mean, look, you're talking about DXY. Like, I mean, it looks the same, right? But if we just go back to like late June of the post-halving year in 2017, right? I mean, we're in a pretty similar spot, it looks like.
And by the way, we keep doing this. I just wanted to add one more thing to Fartcoin. Solana has become such a scam chain with all the grifting and shit like that. I think if there ever was going to be like a king meme coin on Solana, it makes perfect sense to me that should be Fartcoin on Solana. Like, it just fits the Solana shitcoin casino narrative so perfectly, you know?
I think it's kind of funny that you say that, Max, and I'm not disagreeing. I agree. And then we look at ETH memes, and I think you can clearly see the impact that dilution has had on the ceiling of Solana memes, right? Because think about SPX 6900. It's a market cap above Fartcoin right now, and the relative mind share to Fartcoin is completely different, I feel like, between that coin and other ETH memes versus something like Fartcoin.
Yeah, I agree.
Where do you guys think we are on here? Because
I would also look at the 2020 cycle.
This one?
Yeah, so like we broke down from that top to the left.
It just looks so like this. Looks a lot more like this. You know, but the 2020 cycle, we just printed a ton of money, you know. Like, that's why we went up. It's because we dropped rates to zero, had no reserve requirement for banks, and printed trillions of dollars. Like, that is why the 2021 cycle happened like that. So, I mean, we've long been speculating that this cycle is going to look more like 17 anyway, which it kind of has. Like, you've had the stair step, right? Like, we've been doing, let me get off a log, like stair step, you know. So I feel like the XY looks somewhat similar, but either way, this is probably like figuring out the exact spot probably doesn't matter, but this is really probably all we need to look at.
I mean, it took, when the dollar broke down from that level in 2020, you know, it went down like 10%. We might be about to see the dollar go down even more than that, given that we just had like a huge deviation above the range. It took 8 or 9 months before we saw it translate into alt season. I know it took about like 3, 4, 5 months before we saw DeFi summer, but the real alt season, and I don't know if we'll have one quite to the extent. I'm not going to speculate on that, at least, spring of 2021, because it's like you said, Tucker, the financial conditions that engineered those pumps are probably not coming back. At least if they are, it's going to be under completely different verbiage than it was in 2020. But it does take time. Like if it's going to take 8 or 9 months, for example, because that is about when the dollar broke down. It was, I think, March or April of 2020. It might have even been like April or May. So yeah, I think it's just going to take time. But I don't think that because it's going to take time doesn't mean that it's not going to happen at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's broken down. Like,
and I don't even think like alt season per se is what we should be angling for. It's just like Bitcoin needs to be going up a lot, because eventually, as we know, that wealth effect is going to trickle in. VC funds are going to be more willing to invest in crypto assets. In general, you're just going to have a lot more speculative appetite for crypto.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think this is like the last leg or the start of like the final leg down for the DXY. And yeah, there's definitely been a lag, right, from when the Dixie topped. I thought, we would have seen more positive price action sooner from when the Dixie topped. We've kind of seen that from Bitcoin, but we haven't seen it from altcoins yet. But maybe because we are entering that last kind of leg, maybe that's significant, or means something. Maybe this last leg down for the DXY is the start of all of the speculative assets like crypto really starting to ramp up and run. So that would make sense to me.
I will say if the dollar's just going to be dropping, it's going to be very, very hard for equities to go down.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Like, okay. Hold on. Like, just remember that alt season in 2021 happened after. It always happens after Bitcoin tops, right? Like,
well, I think it really started right on that pullback from like 40K.
Yeah, no, it did. But even let's look at 2017.
Because spring 2021 was absolutely insane. And the second half of 2021 was basically just an echo bubble that bounced all the way to all-time highs because of FTX and 3AC predatorily attacking shorts on Bitcoin.
Wait a second. Okay,
like the real top was spring 2021.
Yeah.
Like this. Okay. Actually, we'll do it on. We'll do it on this side. Okay.
I mean, to me, what happened in 2021, if you compare it to the 2018 parabola, is that money flew into altcoins from Bitcoin at almost like an unprecedented level. And it cut to the all-time high blow off top that Bitcoin might have seen akin to 2018. I think it was just it was like a liquidity engineered bull market at the end of the day that was used to really pump and prop up a ton of different altcoins.
Like, look at this, right? Others topped after. Right. Others topped. You had your blow off alt season after Bitcoin had topped. And I'm sure there was a bear div here, so. But you did, the difference too is like you had this whole thing moving up, this whole last leg, which it doesn't seem like we've put in quite yet. Like, we haven't seen this parabolic. I mean, just green candle after green candle for Bitcoin, So.
Yeah, we need this last leg for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And the fun really begins.
Mm-hmm.
Butters had to get his face right on camera. He's about to bite me.
We did get a super chat for based Farcoin as well. I know we looked at Farcoin.
Yes, we did. You want to pull it up, Louis?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you've charted it more than I.
Okay, hold on 1 second. All right. Base Farcoin. So obviously very indicative of what Farcoin does. I'm in the belief that Farcoin right now, if you want to look at it real quick before we go into this, I believe, you ignore these drawings too. It's kind of old stuff here. But, you know, this leg up was kind of during kind of like a solo event, right? You had Bitcoin coming off the lows. You had some alts moving. But this was kind of like one of the only things running at the time. Obviously, that would lead to people chasing at the highs, getting late, you know, because most people weren't buying down here, of course. Chasing the highs. This to me, you know, pretty much is likely, in my opinion, like kind of like that last consolidation, right? Everyone chases this move. Everyone tries to chase this move up back to the all-time highs, gets chopped up in here, right? At this point, like Tommy said, the mind share way less from when it was here, right, to now, right? Not many people talking about Farcoin anymore. Obviously, you know, we live in a bubble here in CT, so people still talk about it. But in the grand scheme of things, not much attention. You know, everyone chases this. Everyone gets chopped up in here, chopped up on here. No one wants to play Farcoin anymore. It looks like it's going down. And then this is your last kind of consolidation before you actually get the big move, right, to back to old all-time highs and maybe even price discovery. Who knows? So this to me is a bullish chart, right? Flipped a key level, got above it, have been, you know, retracing into it. You know, we should start to see this round out and start to head back to the upside after everyone's been chopped up for the last 2 to 3 months in here trying to catch a move on Farcoin. So with that context, I still am very bullish base Farcoin because obviously it's the beta to Farcoin. And not only is it a beta, this is probably one of the strongest beta plays I've seen thus far in the market. But, you know, technically speaking, right, just looking at the chart, this is the area you want to see hold, right? This is why I have it marked out as the bid zone or the must hold level, because that's what it is, right? If, you know, we must hold this area if we don't want to return back to range lows, right? And so far we're doing that, right? We saw a big, beautiful reaction here in June off this level, you know, backing that this is a big bid level that should be respected. We were chased that move. But if I liked it here, which I was adding in this area, why wouldn't I like it again, right? Just because we're revisiting it again does not, you know, mean anything bad. You know, it just means it's at the same price that I liked a couple of weeks ago. But what I think is playing out here, you know, obviously again indicative of Farcoin. You know, we got to see this accumulation range reclaimed, which again similar to Farcoin. No one was buying base Farcoin in here. Everyone's trying to chase Farcoin up in here, up into the highs, and just getting absolutely chopped up for months, right? So now everyone who wanted to get in base Farcoin after watching it run off the lows is chopped up. They're done with this. They don't want to play with this anymore. It's like kind of like what is it, like the Toy Story? Like, I don't want to play with you anymore. You know what I mean? Like they got burned, chopped up in here, trying to catch a free ride to highs. We've now come below that, you know, this range. We're deviating the range lows. Now this is sitting at value prices again, and likely no one wants to bid it until it starts going up. So what I want to see is, you know, this distribution range reclaimed. You know, if we can get back inside this distribution range, back in here, we should, in theory, start our real climb back to the old all-time highs. So I'm bullish here, right? As long as you're above this level on base Farcoin, you know, this is your area to bid. Anywhere under this range, I think, is value buys for base Farcoin to begin its climb after everyone got chopped up over the last couple months. They're over it. came down, death blow, real run ensues. See you later, right? Classic, just markets taking retail to the cleaners before the real move ensues. So still super bullish on base Farcoin. Got a nice big bag of this. And that's what I'm looking for. I think this is going to have a great run and continue to be strong once again, once, we get, that Bitcoin breakout and ETH starting to move. So yeah, bullish chart in my opinion.
Somebody asked about Trump also, Louis.
Yeah, Trump's a little tricky. It's a bleeder, man. It's been bleeding. What I would say is that, when you see charts like this, obviously, looks horrible, right? Looks horrible. Had this big launch. Everyone was super bullish on it. And then literally has been bleeding for months ever since, right? But, I've seen at this point probably hundreds of new altcoin launches, right? And what the charts look like. And these new altcoin launches usually look like this, right? They launch, big hype around it, gets pumped, and then they start to perpetually bleed all the way back down. Sometimes they come all the way back down to the lows. Sometimes they make new lows, and they start looking like this. And then when people are looking like this, like, oh my God, this thing was a scam. It's dead. It's just going to go like this forever. And what you see with the successful projects is they begin to round, they begin to trade sideways, they begin to build momentum, and then they go on a real run, breaking those all-time highs and then going for the real run. And this would look like a blip on the chart. Does Trump do that? I don't know, right? There's, everyone wants to talk about like, the people that hold it, the unlocks, right? Like that could be a factor that holds this thing down, never comes back to life again. But, if you start to see, this like $10, right? You start to see Trump continue to round here and not continue to make new lows, which we haven't made a new low since April, right? We have not made a new low since April. If you continue to see Trump not make new lows, instead of going from making new low, new low, now we're in that sideways, right? Now we're in that sideways. You start to see us starting to make higher lows, right? And round out here. This could ultimately end up being just one big rounding bottom where everyone wants it here, even in here, maybe. No one wants it down here. And then once again, no one wants to talk about it. Everyone calls it a scam. Then you get the big move. Do we come all the way back up here? I don't know. But, you start seeing Trump get back above $10. I would pay attention, right? Pay attention. So we'll see, right? We'll see. I have a small position, right? Nothing crazy. On the belief that this can continue to rally back to the upside and put in some nice squeezes. We've seen some nice moves, right, out of Trump. Like this thing can move. It just needs the right conditions. And I think we're getting close to that. So, not super strong health conditions. I had way more stronger conviction down in here. We saw a nice move and then we've kind of just been doing the same thing. But again, these bottoms are grueling, right? These altcoin bottoms take longer than most people expect and are choppier and more bleedy than most expect. But ultimately, these are something like this looks like it's at value to me, right? Sometimes you win some, you lose some. So we'll see. But again, you want to see Trump back above $10. You want to see this to continue to curl back to the upside. Obviously, you keep bleeding here, making new lows. This is just going to zero, right? But if it doesn't, you have a great potential to buy a token that one is going to have mind share, right? Trump is not going anywhere for another 3.5 years. Is always in the limelight. This could catch mind share very quickly, and could have a shot, right, at being a good performer. But it kind of has to prove it here. But I wouldn't count it out just yet.
It's like such a market of haves and have-nots for soul memes, I feel like.
Yeah.
There's obviously always that one runner, but if it's not right now, given the fact that Sol's not performing, I think as long as that's the case, these large cap Sol memes are going to be very much attention and catalyst driven at the end of the day. Trump had the dinner, which is why it had the big pump. I think it's kind of waiting. Okay, is there going to be another catalyst for this coin? But if it doesn't, I think the smart move with a lot of these things is to just be patient. I mean, less so if you're a holder. I think maybe I wouldn't feel quite as like comfy holding a lot of these large cap Sol memes right now, like a Popcat, a Whiff, Moodang. But if you're looking to invest, I think you can afford to be patient. And if there is something that brings a lot of attention to a specific coin over the next few weeks and months, then Sol money will probably pile in.
Right? Like, what if like World Liberty Fi comes out and says, "Yeah, we're going to start buying up Trump coin and like starting a treasury or something like that," or Trump makes an announcement, or like anything can happen with something like this. That's why it's like, yeah, it looks like shit has been underperforming. I wouldn't full port this thing here, but it's at levels where it's worth taking a shot. Right? You know when you're wrong pretty quickly. Right? You're already kind of out in the basement here. You can't really go much lower. And if you do, you are quickly and you can get out, right? But it might be something worth taking a flyer on, right? Just buy a little bit, stack it, leave it there. And then, maybe you can get an announcement one day, or, you look back a couple months down the road and, this has mind share again and is doing way better than most expected. And this kind of looks like the Pepe chart to me still. A little, it started to deviate that fractal a little bit. But this is what Pepe looked like in 2023, early 2024, before it went on a 10, 12x run, right? Had a big launch in 2023 during the bear market, had all the hype. Then it perpetually bled for months. And at the lows, no one wanted to touch it anymore. Everyone was talking about it in the bear market. By the time it looked like this, was starting to look like it was putting in some sort of base. No one wanted to talk about it, right? Like Max was the only probably bigger name that was talking about it. I was not even at BB yet, but I was buying Pepe when it looked like this, right? And I was able to catch a 10 to 12x move. And now, like, I'm still up 10 to 12x on my Pepe back, just sitting on it. I haven't really, sold on the way up a little bit, but so it did look like this, right? So that's kind of the example. But is it going to be Pepe? No idea, right? I have no idea. And that's the thing about trading. You just, you got to just take the shot, take the risk. If you're right, great. If you're wrong, on to the next. So.
I saw Runner XBT was fudding Trump earlier this week. That's typically a bottom signal, but I don't have enough faith to bid. What did Ansem just tweet about Sol ETH?
Did he?
I'm gonna see what he said. I think I have it muted, so
I could go and copy and paste your video into his onto his tweet if you want.
If he did, he's just got so many tweets. I don't really want to have to scroll through all of them. I'm going to be honest. I know we talked about his ETH target on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I think
what's that?
It's like 1,000 for ETH. I think you only get that pricing if ETH is legitimately in a bear market.
If ETH is trading at $1,000, I don't think it's ever coming back.
I mean, it could, but yeah, it would be obviously a lot more difficult.
Yeah. In theory, like ETH should be moving up from here, and down the line, we should probably never return to $1,000 again, right? If ETH is gonna be the number 2 crypto moving forward. If it's trading at $1,000, it's not anymore, and likely gonna continue to dwindle away, right? So I once again would probably disagree with his take, but I disagree with most of his takes, so that makes sense.
Crypto is better when Sol is underperforming. Just my opinion. I'm sorry if that like really upsets you in the comments, but if it does, let me know why. I'd be happy to discuss it.
We need to move up here, boys. We need to move up. Look at that chart, Louis. Damn.
I'm going to repeat what I said earlier this week, that it kind of just feels exactly like that 7-month range Bitcoin was in back in
it's just
year.
yeah,
Just
100%.
rotational.
Yeah, like this part here or the whole thing.
The
Like
range from the last like 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, this consolidation. Yeah, and that's what I've been comparing it to a lot in the Discord. Is this range, because we traded through this range too, right? And every day for a grueling 7 to 8 months. And it's the same concept, right? It's these stacked highs, right? Stacked highs, never taking external liquidity on these highs, continuing to trade lower, right? But not really leave the consolidation. And then ultimately trading back into the highs, you start to crack these highs, start to run all this liquidity that's been stacked here for months. You see what happens, right? You see the explosion. And that's why I remained bullish throughout this whole time, because, you know, it looked like a massive consolidation, right? Distribution, you take the high, right? You sweep the high, you take it here. We didn't take a single high, right? And that's kind of what I'm pounding the table on here with this kind of consolidation structure we're seeing at the highs here is, you know, we're stacking highs here, right? We're kind of in a falling wedge or a bull flag, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter what you call it. It matters if you could understand what's going on and that is, you know, we made a high, big move off the consolidation lows. We never took this high, right? If we took this high and then we're trading back into here, I'd be way more concerned. I'd be like, uh-oh, like they swept the liquidity. Now we're coming down. You know, we could do something like that. But that's not what happened, right? What we did was we had a big powerful move off the low, got stuffed right just below that low, came down to the lower extreme. Again, bullish reaction at the lower extreme, right? Once again, you know, everyone got bared up here, gets bullish here, gets bared up here, gets bullish here, gets bared up here, and people are just getting chopped up in these consolidation ranges. When really it's just ranging, right? Bullish reaction here at the extreme. What makes sense? Another test of the consolidation highs. And again, the more times we test the highs of this consolidation, the more times it's likely to break, right? We're not going to keep testing these highs and just do this, right? We continue to keep testing these highs, right? So maybe we do test this going into today or the next couple of days. Maybe we get one more rejection, right? I'd expect to see a higher low, right? Something like this, boom, boom, boom. You got 3 stacked highs, 1, 2, 3, billions of dollars worth of liquidity above. You start to crack those highs, those shorts start to cover, get liquidated, and that's the gasoline to the fire to lead this final leg, right? So this is consolidation at the highs, clear as day to me. I want to see if I can pull up the gold fractal. Oh, perfect. All right. And here's a great example of what I'm talking about. Look familiar? Right? Boom, double top, liquidity sweep. Boom, double top, liquidity sweep. Big leg down. Boom, big leg down. Return to the highs. Return to the highs. Right here, we stabbed up a little higher, but it's not going to be identical. What did gold do next? Consolidate at the highs. Boom, ping-ponging, ping-ponging. Everyone was getting so bearish on gold here, I remember, because I was watching this chart. Consolidate, third test at the consolidation highs. Boom, monster run for gold, right? We're getting close to that third test. We're getting close to this point here, right? So whether we break out on the third test and just go, or we test, maybe get one more little drop, higher low, and then go. But this is what I mean by consolidation at the highs, right? Stacking the highs here. That gives you the juice for the move higher. So I thought this is really interesting. And it makes a lot of sense for Bitcoin to follow in gold's footsteps. We've seen it pretty much this whole cycle. So this fractal does make a little more sense too, right? It's not like I'm comparing Bitcoin to like, weak futures. You know, like, okay, yeah, it's a fractal, but doesn't really make much sense. You know, this makes sense to me, right? Pulling a similar move gold did just a year ago, right? So I don't know. I think it looks pretty similar. And it's kind of the concept of what I've been talking about here, but shown how it can play out. Right? So just thought that was interesting.
The age-old question, is Bitcoin following gold or big tech?
Well,
I feel like we've asked ourselves that question many times.
I feel like it takes turns, right?
Yeah.
Following both. Because it's kind of both. It's tech. It's also a scarce asset. So it's kind of a hybrid of both.
Best of both worlds. If only we didn't
Yep.
have all that tech leverage from a guy called Michael Saylor embedded in it, and be the perfect asset. But I won't rant about that. What do you guys think about equities here? I think that's probably a good spot for us to I mean, what do you guys think about a chart that's straight up in a straight line?
Yeah.
Look at this weekly candle.
Somebody asked me if I think that equities are going to range or if they're going to break out earlier on the show. I think I'm still thinking like we're either going to range, and this is probably like we're getting close to like a vicious vol snapback, which seems less and less likely. I mean, let's be honest, look at the charts, and what about the probabilities are screaming that we're about to see a move like that. Or, you know, everything's going to break into price discovery here and probably consolidate near the highs, I think, for a few months. And then we're going to probably, I mean, we look like we could be close to melting up in equity markets to me. So, I mean, just crazy to think that that's where they are. I'm not ready to commit to that thesis yet. I want to see a few months of consolidation above the high. But if you see that, man, then I mean, there's nothing bearish about equities at all. In fact, you're probably not long enough if that's what we see.
Mm-hmm. Where'd little Louie go?
It's probably a good spot for us to wrap up.
Yeah.
We have been running for about an hour and 20 minutes, guys. We hope that you enjoyed the show here. As always, we're going to continue to bring you all the content that you crave and that you deserve. Hopefully, you enjoyed the videos that we put out on our YouTube channel throughout the week. Like I said at the start of the show, there is a lot more of that to come. So if you liked it, great. You're going to get to enjoy more of that content. If you didn't like it, well, you'll have to tune in for Market Check, I guess, for your preferred content. But hit the like button on your way out, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. A reminder that Market Check goes live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Typical start time around 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you enjoyed the show, that's when you can check us out. And we are only live. Yeah, I guess I used to say we're live every weekday. It's going to take some getting used to, but yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed the show. We've also got Market Talk hosted by King Wabi later this afternoon, so make sure to tune into that as well. That is a Spaces hosted through the Because Bitcoin X account, as well as King Wabi's personal account. So make sure to stay following and subscribe to both of those entities so you can be notified, not just when we schedule those spaces, but of course, also when we go live. But that's it for the show today. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. I think I've said that like 3 or 4 times over the last 2 minutes, but as always, we hope that that is the case. We're going to send you on your way with a commercial about the BB terminal, guys. We've been making some really awesome developments, I think, on the back end that we're pretty excited to show you here over the next few weeks. So stay tuned. We're continuing to make the BB terminal not just the best product in crypto, but the product that, you know, all sorts of skill sets are going to be able to find huge utility out of, right? Whether or not you're an expert, whether you're intermediate, or whether you're just getting started, you will not just enjoy using the BB terminal, but also get, like I said, a huge amount of utility out of it. But yeah, you can get your foot in the door with free portfolio tracking. Check that out. But yeah, that's it from us, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Hopefully we're not chopping by the time we come back on stream next week. But thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal,